Hi there. In this video I will explain to you how our development process works. It's a methodology that we've been using for almost 7 years now, and it has proven something very valuable to our development process, and as such has enabled us to do fixed price software development successfully for well, almost 10 years. So how does it go? I'll briefly explain to you the principle. We have a functional designer that draws up a functional design. This functional design, I can show you one here, which is well, sorry, it's in Dutch, but you'll grasp the idea undoubtedly. So this is the functional design, and as you can see, these are all user requirements that are defined in the functional design. Now, our developers, we use a Microsoft environment and Word, and we've written a Word add-in that enables us to, as you can see here, this is denotes user requirement. You can see a number here. So what we do in the Word document is the functional designer, he selects a user requirement, and then he indicates that this user requirement is either testable or not testable. And so, as the text says, testable means we expect a unit test, and not testable means that we don't expect an automated test in the code base. What happens then is that the functional designer, he then checks in the functional design into, well, this is our operational system, and as you can see, for this particular project, the functional design has 195 versions. So whenever the document gets, the minute it gets checked into this system, our Genesis tool tracks the changes that have been made to the document. And for the particular project in my bed visiting, of which I've shown you the functional design, means bed occupation. It's an application that manages while moving around patients from one bed in one room to another, but there's not millions, but thousands of beds and patients, and it's a pretty complex process, which we've written in not that long a time. We've written it in 2,809 man-hours. So how does it work? The minute the functional design gets checked in, Genesis picks up the functional design, and you can immediately see that whatever was in the functional design gets captured and gets put into a database. So this is, the project's been finished quite a while. You can see the red dot here, and this means this particular use case hasn't been developed. How do we know that? Because there are no tests, and hasn't been developed. It might have been developed, but there were no tests written for it, and the functional designer denoted that he expected automated tests to be written for these user requirements. So that means that we say, okay, this is not developed up to our standards, so to speak. If we take a look at the evolution of the project, and as I said, it's been delivered already quite some time ago. Probably this looks like some delivery 2011. We started in 2010, January 2010. Definitely here was, I think this was about the delivery, April 2011, I guess. And after this, these were changes to the original project. Here, long time, very few changes, and lately in 2013. The customer has requested more changes. So what does this graph mean? You see the red part, it means that the user requirements are added to the functional design, and you see the functional design, you see it grow. Green means that the user requirements are covered by automated tests that should have been covered by automated tests, and that those tests are working. And the white color means that these are user requirements for which we do not expect an automated test. Stuff that's too difficult, or where there's no real benefit of writing a test, although we promote heavily on writing tests for almost everything. As you can see on the testability ratio, this is the ratio between the green and red and the white in the previous graph. You can see that almost, well, 97.5% of the application gets tested automatically with each build, and gets tested automatically. That means it's functional coverage. So it's the testing that of the requirements that were in the functional design, and not code coverage, because that is a bit of a, well, it says something, but it's not such a valid ratio or valid figure in our view, at least. We could also check how many builds we have for an application. There's 1075 builds for this particular one, and we can go back in time, maybe September 2010. How did the application look at the time? We can see there was more work to be done in 2010. You can see, and don't know if you noticed, but here there's a particular another icon, and when we follow this trail of this icon, we can see that there was a requirement change. Now this is Dutch, so but you can see that the old requirement description was this, and here it says the functional design is changed. So what happens is the developer has to change his code, and in this case there was a requirement change. This is the test written for the particular requirement. Maybe if I go to the part where something has not been written, so I'm going for a use case, and here you can see there are no tests for these particular user requirements. So what happens is that getting the tag into the Genesis data into the code base is done simply by copy pasting. All our developers prefer this way of working above an automated one, so this is what we do. And so I've shown you the change in the user requirements in the functional design, and okay, one extra thing is that so this is the test covering. I don't have a Visual Studio installed on my machine, but developers can immediately go to the test that they've written, instantly to the exact part in their code base where this test is, and this test is covering this particular user requirement. It's a pretty powerful way of working, because we can guarantee that in the latter case that you've seen of the bed planning project, we had almost 97.5% coverage. I can show you, for instance, this is something project for Alcatel-Lucent that we've done with it, and they actually use it somewhere in China, and you can see what happened. This is a technical mishap in the setup, but well, the Alcatel-Lucent developers were at the time not as proficient in writing unit tests, so they have less testability ratio. But still, almost 85% of the functional design was covered by automated tests, so that's not too bad at all. So hope this clarifies a bit the power, well, the way we work, and the efficiency of with what we can write software. Okay, on to the next one.